Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Right, so the season's about to start right up again, and lads, we're almost guaranteed a shock result on the opening day. It happens every single year without fail. Watch, I'll prove it, showing you each opening day weekend's most unlikely result going all the way back to 2006. Right, let's go. 2006, Reading 3, Middlesbrough 2. Yes, lads, this was the first ever managerial game for Gareth Southgate. I always knew when he chucked away a 2-goal lead against newly promoted Reading that yes, that's the guy who wanted to manage the country. Lads, this might not be a shock scoreline in 2020, but back in 2006, this was Middlesbrough's first game after appearing in the UEFA Cup final. Reading, by contrast, were playing their first ever Premier League match, and so when Stuart Downing and Yakubu put Borough 2-0 up after 20 minutes, Reading fans were probably already mentally preparing for relegation. But no, Dave Kitson and Steve Sidwell levelled directly before half time, with Borough showing they had absolutely no clue how to fight off gingers. Quick tip, lads, just put them directly underneath the sun. Leroy Nito fired home the winner in the 55th minute, with Southgate showing such managerial naivety. Even his subs were baffling. For the final 6 minutes, he brought on a teenage Adam Johnson. 3 words which should not be mentioned in the same sentence. 2007, Sunderland 1, Tottenham 0. Okay, there was a level of trepidation when Sunderland kicked off the 07-08 season against Tottenham at home. The last 2 times this club were in the top flight, they were setting record low points totals. So with big spending Spurs rocking up the stadium alight and spitting 4 strikers onto the pitch, Sunderland fans were probably ready to swallow their own feet. Aaron Bent, Dimitar Berbatov, Jermaine Defoe and Robbie Keane versus the backline of Naira Nosworthy and Paul McShane? Good Christ. And yet somehow, after being talked up as outside title threats, they couldn't score and conceded a last minute goal to Michael Chopra, who despite apparently being Geordie through and through, celebrated like a man who'd grown up tossing himself off to the Sunderland badge. 2008, Man United 1, Newcastle 1. Okay, is a draw really that big a shock? Well, yes, because this was a Newcastle team in utter chaos, with a transfer committee who just spent the summer signing lads off YouTube. Christ, we're 10 years in the future. Dennis Wise are probably been stuffing Chris MD and Jez Swaz Lynch onto the goddamn bench. Anyway, this shambles of a Newcastle team, beginning a campaign that would end in chaotic relegation, somehow managed to grind out a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford, the home of the champions of Europe. They even took the lead through Obafemi Martins. Jonas Gutierrez's debut nearly had Wes Brown bleeding out his nose, but then again, Sir Alex Ferguson was also starting the game with Fraser Campbell up front, so what did he expect? 2009, Aston Villa 0, Wigan 2. Okay, yes, this was a weird result. This was Wigan's first game under Roberto Martinez, having inherited the gig from the managerial dinosaur that was Steve Bruce. You think the Spaniard would have needed a bit of time to settle in and implement his philosophy, because playing a risky, expansive ball-playing game when you've got Paul Sharner and Titus Bramble in your defence, it's a bit like picking your nose with a knife. They were travelling to Villa Park, facing a Villa team who qualified for Europe and had a team dripping in big money talent. Ashley Young, James Milner, Fabian Delph, all future Premier League champions. And yet somehow Wigan win 2-0, dominating possession with 58% of the ball and scoring through Hugo Radiega and Jason Kumas. Not a bad first impression for a guy who'd wind up finishing 3rd in the World Cup. 2010, Wigan 0, Blackpool 4. Okay lads, I'll admit it, I haven't had less faith in the Premier League team before the season started than Blackpool. Thank Christ there was no YouTube channel back in August 2010, because my prediction would have been absolute turnip snot. To be fair, who saw this coming? Blackpool had stumbled into the top 5 with a wage bill less than that of the local KFC. Their transfer budget was probably just what Ian Holloway could find under the couch. Make no mistake about it, this was a League 1 standard squad, with the likes of Marlon Harewood and Brett Ormerod shoved up front, 2 men who looked like they spent the summer living in their Burger King toilets, and they were somehow 3-0 up at half time, running out 4-0 winners. How did a man who managed to lose 4-0 at home to the likes of James Vaughan and Gary Taylor-Fletcher ever get the chance to manage Belgium's golden generation? That's like Anderson Gibb be given a title fight in the UFC. 2011, QPR 0, Bolton 4. Okay, to be fair, this wasn't the biggest shock on the list, but still, when QPR had blown away the championship, the likes of Adel Taarabt was being linked with PSG. No, they weren't chucking around money like they would in 2012, but there was still hype. Bolton would be the ones relegated this season, and yet they still smashed up QPR with goals from Gary Cahill, Ivan Klasnic, Farisa Mwamba and a Daddy Gabardon own goal. Watching that 90 minutes of defensive hell, Neil Warnock must have felt like eating a sandwich made of glass. 2012, Everton 1, Man United 0. Yeah, this was David Moyes' audition. You would have thought with Manchester United had just missed out on the title to Man City on goal difference, they would have begun the season with a bang. Now with Robin van Persie on board, they would probably have wanted revenge on the team who cost them a critical 2 points at Old Trafford in April. But no, surprisingly it ended 1-0 to Everton, with Mauro Fellaini smashing home a 57th minute header. 2013, Arsenal 1, Aston Villa 3. Yeah, this was the first real game which birthed the internet onslaught of devastated Arsenal fans. Before the season there was hype. This was the year Arsenal were finally going to put up a title challenge, and then they opened the season losing 3-1 home to Aston Villa. Olivier Giroud had even given them the lead after 6 minutes, before Christian Benteke absolutely turned the game on its head with a couple of goals. By the way, this was back when he actually knew where the goal was, instead of nowadays where he's less threatening than a paralysed pigeon. Wenger would hang on for 5 more years, but the guy must have thought even back then, being outwitted at home by Paul Lambert, that's when, things are getting embarrassing. It was probably a sign that, maybe he should have left. That's like running over 3 pensioners on the way to work. Maybe then you might realise that, you might need some glasses, and probably a good lawyer. 2014, Man United 1, Swansea 2. One of the most anticlimactic starts to a managerial reign. Louis van Gaal was seen as a serial winner. Finally, a big name manager who could handle the pressure of the Old Trafford dugout. Many United fans seem to think their disastrous season was all down to David Moyes, and that LVG would get them back their title. And then he loses 2-1 at home to Swansea in his first game in charge. Gylfi Sigurdsson fired home the winner on a historic day. It was United's first opening day loss at home since 1972. Not great. 2015, Arsenal 0, West Ham 2. Yeah, yet again, here's Arsenal spunking their title hopes up a tree on the first day of the season. Bear in mind, this was the year where Leicester ended up winning the league. This was there for the taking, and yet despite boasting a multi-million-pound squad with internationals in nearly every position, they sloppily lost 2-0 at home to West Ham. Checo Kouyaté and Mauro Zarate scored the goals, with Petr Cech proving that yes, he was most definitely past his best. It was also the game where 16-year-old Reece Oxford kept Mesut Ozil in his pocket. 5 years later, and he's played 7 Premier League games since. Good Christ. 2016, Hull 2, Leicester 1. This was always going to happen, wasn't it? That Premier League title hangover. The Leicester players have just pulled off the impossible. They just completed football. They were never going to have more hunger than the newly promoted Hull, now were they? But still, Hull were massive relegation favourites, didn't have a manager in charge, and had a squad of about 15 players. Goals from Adama Diamande and Robert Snodgrass carved out a 2-1 win for Hull, in a game where Jamie Vardy spent the afternoon punching himself in the face. What a strange individual. 2017, Chelsea 2, Burnley 3. Arguably the biggest shock in the list. Chelsea during the 16-17 season were virtually unstoppable. They just eased up 93 points, winning 30 league games, and had only lost twice at home. So Burnley at Stamford Bridge, who just finished 16th with Stan Vokes up front, were clearly easy pickings. A nice way to settle into the season with 3 points at Stamford Bridge, right? No, somehow Antonio Conte's men were 3-0 down at half time. Sean Dyche probably couldn't believe his luck. Alvaro Morata and David Luiz did pull a couple of goals back in the second half, but still, red cards for Gary Cahill and Cesc Fabregas, just a disaster afternoon. 2018, Fulham 0, Crystal Palace 2. Okay, to be fair, there weren't many opening day shocks in 2018. Let's say Fulham beginning their Premier League season with a deflating 2-0 defeat at home to Crystal Palace. Sure, the Cottagers were the newly promoted team, but still, they just spent £100 million on their squad. There was hype about this team. They weren't just here to stay up, they were aiming for Europe. And then they end up watching Slavisa Jokanovic outthought by the guy who quit their club nearly a decade earlier. They absolutely dominated possession with 66% of the ball, but still, goals from Jeffrey Schlupp and Wilfred Zaha had Fulham fans no doubt bleeding from the ears. 2019, Watford 0, Brighton 3. Yeah, I realise Watford's previous game was a 6-goal embarrassment in the FA Cup final, something they never really recovered from, but still, who saw this one coming? Most people had Brighton down as relegation favourites under Graham Potter, while Watford, who just finished halfway up the league and reached the cup final, would have been heavily backed to beat Brighton at home. No, instead a complete and utter Potter masterclass, winning 3-0 with goals from Florian Andone, Neil Maupay and an own goal from Abdoulaye Doucouré. In a mental season where Watford went through 4 coaches before finally getting relegated. Serves their spoilt and out-of-touch owners right, good lord. Going through 4 managers, do they realise their employers are actually real people? They treat them like rolls of toilet paper. Anyway, that's the end of the video, lads. Let me know in the comments section below what crazy opening day result do you think is going to happen this week. Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.